Welcome to Linguistics Tube. On this channel, you will find videos about learning English, as well as more scientific videos about linguistics and psychology, and more general academic topics such as study skills, conducting research, and writing academic articles. This episode is part of my series which explores how to write effectively in English. We will learn about a range of skills which you can use generally, and I'll also share my advice for specific writing exams, such as TEM-4 and IELTS. In this episode, I will show you the options regarding which order you can put your arguments in within the body section of an argumentative essay. To fully understand this episode, you should watch another episode in this series, which explores how to write an argumentative essay. In terms of the order that you should put your body paragraphs in, there are of course several possible options to choose from. However, in general, I recommend that you use the following order for your body paragraphs. Assuming that you have 2 or 3 arguments, thus 2 or 3 body paragraphs, your first paragraph should be your most important, or your most persuasive, or your strongest reason, and your last paragraph should be your least important, or least persuasive, or your weakest reason. You might be surprised by this, because you might have been taught in the past that the opposite order is the best order. Well, you certainly can choose that order if you prefer, and there are an additional 2 possible orders to choose. We will look at these 4 orders in this episode. Like I said, you might have been taught in the past that the best order is to begin with your least important reason and finish the body section with the most important reason. This can be a good choice, because the fact that the reader is looking at your essay means that he or she knows how many body paragraphs are in your essay. Therefore, when he or she is reading through the body section, momentum is building up. And when he or she gets to the final body paragraph, all of that momentum means that finishing with the most important reason is very satisfying. However, I still prefer the opposite order, especially in longer argumentative essays. This is because the writer must work hard to maintain the reader's attention from the beginning to the end of your essay, because reading an entire essay requires a lot of effort. So, if you have not engaged your reader's attention in the first half of your essay, you will not be able to maintain it in the second half of your essay. This is why you must put your more important and interesting argument at the beginning of the body, because if your body begins with your least convincing and interesting information, it is doubtful whether you will maintain the reader's attention to the end of your essay. So, to summarize, always keep in mind that you must place your more important information as early as possible in your essay to keep your reader interested in your essay. A second possible order to use, which I highly recommend if it is appropriate for your situation, is when your arguments are not completely separate and individual. Instead, if you can identify an obvious logical link between your arguments, then a natural order will automatically present itself. That is, argument 1 logically leads to argument 2, and argument 2 logically leads to argument 3. This is more commonly referred to as A leads to B, and B leads to C. Finally, there is another order which I highly recommend when there is another type of link or pattern between your arguments. Specifically, if one of your arguments is specific and narrow, and the other is wider and more general, then put the specific and narrow argument first, and the wider and more general argument last. This is more commonly referred to as the small to big order. Let's look at some examples of these. Let's now look at examples of the 4 orders. To demonstrate both most important to least important and least important to most important, I will use the topic women should keep their jobs after getting married. For this, there are 3 reasons why the writer has this viewpoint. In the writer's opinion, the most important reason is, in order to have an equal status in their family and society, it is essential for women to have an independent source of income. Of middle importance is, having a job gives women a sense of fulfillment, which builds their self-esteem and maintains a positive mental well-being. And the least important is, these women can help reduce the burden on their husbands, which is conducive to a happy family life. Let's now look at how we can use these as topic sentences within the body section. Let's firstly look at the most important to least important order. Using this order, our topic sentences could be, firstly, the most important reason is that, in order to have an equal status in their family and society, it is essential for women to have an independent source of income. Secondly, I am sure that having a job gives women a sense of fulfillment, which builds their self-esteem and maintains a positive mental well-being. Lastly, these women can help reduce the burden on their husbands, which is conducive to a happy family life. Remember, this is the order I highly recommend for an argumentative essay. Moving on, let's now look at the opposite order, which you are welcome to use if you prefer it. Here, the arguments are ordered from least important to most important. For one thing, these women can help reduce the burden on their husbands, which is conducive to a happy family life. Secondly, I am sure that having a job gives women a sense of fulfillment, which builds their self-esteem and maintains a positive mental well-being. But most importantly, in order to have an equal status in their family and society, it is essential for women to have an independent source of income. I would like to repeat why I do not recommend this order. If you begin with your least interesting reason, and make the reader wait for your most persuasive one, it is possible that you will lose your reader's interest and attention. You need to engage them as soon as possible with your most interesting information in order to maintain their interest throughout your essay, and ensure that he or she keeps reading until the end of your essay. Let's now look at the third possible structure to use. For this option, you should be able to identify an obvious logical progression between your arguments. Specifically, argument 1 logically leads to argument 2, and argument 2 logically leads to argument 3. This is more commonly referred to as A leads to B and B leads to C. Let's now use an argumentative topic to exemplify this. The thesis statement is, there are several disadvantages of students engaging in procrastination, so it should be avoided and discouraged. I'll now read the 3 topic sentences. While I read them, try to identify the logical links between them. Procrastination is a bad habit which negatively impacts students' work, always resulting in poor quality assignments. Students who procrastinate cannot organize their routine well, which leads to frustration and a lack of confidence. Procrastination damages students' opportunities when they graduate, because employers prefer high-efficiency workers over procrastinators. The first argument outlines the immediate, short-term impact of procrastination. This leads to the second argument, which explains how these short-term impacts will affect the student more broadly while at university. And the end result of this is the longer-term disadvantages of procrastination, post-graduation. In other words, the logical relationship here is that a cause leads to an immediate effect, and this leads to a longer-lasting effect. The final order I will share with you is the small to big order, where you start with a more specific and narrow argument and finish with a broader and more general argument. For this topic, the thesis statement is: young people should learn how to play mahjong because of its benefits for individuals' abilities, social connections, and Chinese culture. Mahjong, if you have never heard of it, is a very popular game from China. The writer of this essay is, of course, Chinese. For this topic, the three arguments are: playing mahjong contributes to the development of one's memory and decision-making skills. Through mahjong, young Chinese people can meet new people and strengthen their social connections. Young Chinese people have the duty to inherit the quintessence of China, mahjong, by learning it and passing it down to the next generation. Did you see the logical connection here? The first argument focuses on a specific benefit to the individual, the second argument focuses on the social benefits for people, and the third argument focuses on the cultural benefits to the entire country. Finally, it is certainly possible, but unlikely, that your topic will have arguments with no obvious order. There is nothing wrong with this, and you shouldn't try to force them into one of the three recommended orders. Instead, you can simply put your arguments in any order. I will demonstrate this with the following topic. A congestion charge should be introduced in all major cities because motorists are physically and morally responsible for the environmental and economic damage caused by traffic jams. The speaker chose to create two arguments, which are the environmental damage and the economic damage of traffic jams. I'll read them now. Environmentally, the emissions from traffic congestion contribute to air pollution. Introducing a congestion charge could encourage people to take public transport, which can reduce pollution. Economically, collecting a congestion charge allows the government to improve the public transport system, which helps shorten people's commute to work and increase workers' efficiency. In this case, both arguments are equally important, so there does not seem to be a logical or thematic link between them. As a result, any order works well, so either environmental or economic could be first. This is the end of the video about how to order your arguments in the body section of an argumentative essay. If you liked what you heard, then you can find more videos in my writing skills series, as well as other series on the topics of English and linguistics. Thank you for watching.